Single mom's heartwarming secret exposed at party. CEO's incredible reaction changes everything. Sarah's heart raced as she stood at the edge of Evergreen Heights' annual block party. The scent of barbecued ribs and the laughter of neighbors wrapped around her like a warm blanket. But beneath that blanket of joy, nervous energy simmered within her. Today was more than just another celebration, it was her chance to finally share the innovative product she believed could transform their lives. It was probably just a dreamy illusion, but Sarah had held on to this fantasy for so long. Today was the day she would unveil it. As she pushed through the bustling crowd, her eyes darted toward Lily, giggling with her friends near the inflatable slide. Just seeing her daughter's smile filled Sarah with determination. She'd spent nearly every waking moment trying to forge a path toward a better future. Working 2 jobs, waiting tables at the diner and cleaning offices was exhausting, but the dream of owning her own business flickered like a candle in the back of her mind, urging her forward. However, the closer she got to the heart of the celebration, the more the laughter morphed into her own self-doubt. She overheard affluent families swapping tales of vacations and bonuses, and it gnawed at her confidence. Was she fooling herself? Did she even belong here? She stood by the snack table, rehearsing her pitch under her breath, when a group of neighbors walked past, their whispered judgment slicing through the air. What does she know about business? Does she ever think about the realities? Each word pricked at her heart, tightening her chest. Just then, Mr. Thompson made his grand entrance, the successful CEO known for lending a hand to those in need. A glimmer of hope stirred in Sarah's chest. Maybe, just maybe, he'd listen. When he swept by, she instinctively moved forward. In a moment of accidental courage, she mentioned her gardening-inspired venture while talking about a neighbor's side hustle with plants. To her utter disbelief, Mr. Thompson's brow furrowed with interest. "You know," he said, leaning in, "that could work. There's a real need for creativity in our community." Gasps rippled through the crowd as people turned towards her, the small-time waitress at the diner now finding herself at the center of the action. As excitement built around her, she felt an intoxicating rush. Mr. Thompson's genuine admiration for her grit and spirit was infectious, and suddenly she could feel the energy shifting. It was all about merit and community, he said passionately, cutting through the underlying tension of privilege. Hope surged in her chest, chasing away the shadows of self-doubt. But as the crowd buzzed about her burgeoning idea, a voice came from the back. "But what if it fails? You are taking a risk." It was a town council member, his words pulling Sarah back into a pit of anguish. The room quieted, leaving an echo of uncertainty hanging in the air. Would she really take the plunge? Could her dreams withstand the weight of reality? Before she could even process the swirl of emotions, she felt eyes boring into her, waiting for her to respond, trapped between the hopeful glimmers in the crowd and the heavy clouds of doubt. In this moment, Sarah was at a crossroad. Did she have what it took to seize the future for Lily and herself? Would she step beyond the shadow of fear and let her dream take flight? As everyone held their breath, the answer lingered just out of reach, promising an emotional storm to unfold. The silence felt like a weight on Sarah's shoulders. Heart pounding, she glanced at Lily, who was now watching with bright-eyed curiosity, unaware of the storm brewing in her mother's heart. That sweet face so innocent and full of possibility gave Sarah the first glimmer of courage she needed. "Everything worth having is a risk," she finally said, her voice steadying. It was as if those words had come from a place deeper within her, a place that brimming with determination. "I may not have the experience of big business, but I understand what it means to create, to nurture. I've done it with my own garden, and I want to help others do the same." Mr. Thompson smiled broadly, and the tension began to dissolve. "You see, that's the spirit we need more of," he exclaimed, encouraging a ripple of applause from some of the crowd. The warmth spread through Sarah like sunlight breaking through clouds. But not everyone was convinced. A woman near the back crossed her arms, skepticism written all over her face. And what do you know about running a business anyhow? You're just a waitress. The crowd shifted, whispers dancing between skepticism and encouragement. The words stung. Yet, beneath the hurt, a fire ignited within Sarah. I know hard work. I know the feeling of planting a seed and watching it grow. I understand the struggle of balancing 2 jobs just to support my family. As she gestured toward her daughter, who had just taken a seat in the grass, her eyes glinting with pride, she felt the room lean in closer. If I can nurture life, I can nurture this idea. The crowd was right on the edge. They were hungry for more. Mr. Thompson raised a brow, intrigued. Then tell us, what's the vision? Sarah took a deep breath, her heart soaring. This was it. I want to create a community garden that brings everyone together, a cooperative model where we can learn from each other. We could grow fresh food, teach our children about nature, share skills, even hold workshops. It's not just about gardening, it's about creating a stronger community. Cheers erupted from a few enthusiastic neighbors, while others looked lost in thought. The woman who had questioned her frowned, but couldn't silence the buzz of curiosity that began to ripple through the crowd. Encouraged, Sarah continued, imagine kids learning how to plant, how to care for the earth. Imagine the seniors sharing their gardening wisdom. This could revitalize our community and offer fresh produce to everyone. We could even start small, transition some of the empty lots into gardens. Mr. Thompson nodded appreciatively. You understand the importance of community. The heart of a successful business lies in serving the people it's meant to help. For a moment, everything felt possible. Hope flared around Sarah, and her mind raced with images of what could be a garden blooming with color, laughter, a place where stories would intertwine. But then the skepticism returned, a shadow passing over the bright vision she had just crafted. But how will you fund it? How will you keep it running? The town council member pressed again. Can you rally support? Another voice chimed in, unsure. A wave of anxiety washed over Sarah, like a sudden chill. Was she truly capable of taking this leap? What if she couldn't manage it? What if they failed? Maybe she started, uncertainty creeping in again. But then she spotted Lily again, running around, playing freely. Her daughter's laughter rang in her ears, and in that moment, Sarah knew. She needed to show Lily what it truly meant to fight for what you believe in. Maybe it starts with a small commitment from each of us. It's about bringing people together. I'll find a way. I have to. For Lily. With each word, confidence blossomed, drowning out the doubt. The crowd jumped back into animated murmurs, energy shifting once more as Sarah held not just their attention, but their hope too. But would this newfound momentum be enough to silence the critics? Did she have the resolve to turn those dreams into reality? As the buzz intensified around her, a flicker of doubt remained. But this was her moment. Was she ready for what came next? The energy in the air crackled, buzzing with anticipation. Sarah could feel the weight of every gaze upon her. It felt both exhilarating and terrifying. Was this the moment where her dreams took root, or the moment where doubt overwhelmed her? Mr. Thompson rose, his steady authority shimmering through the crowd. I see potential here, Sarah. We need visionaries like you. The applause that erupted this time was stronger, a wave of support washing over her. She had struck a chord, but the skeptic was still lurking in the shadows, and Sarah couldn't shake the weight of that doubt lingering in the back of her mind. Vision is one thing. Turning it into reality is another, the doubting woman called out again. The crowd shifted, feeling her challenge. It was as if a spotlight had suddenly illuminated the obstacles in Sarah's path. Did they all believe in her? Or were they simply imagining what could be, while worries remained unseen? Taking a step forward, Sarah harnessed the tension in the air. I know the hurdles. I've faced them every day. She took another deep breath, summoning the strength that flickered within. But I also know what it means to build something from nothing. To pour love, sweat, and tears into every part of it. This garden can be a living example of that. Lily reached out to her mother, a small hand grasping her fingers. It felt grounding, reminding Sarah of who she was doing this for. The innocence in her eyes ignited another spark of courage. This isn't just about a garden. It's about hope. It's about a future for Lily and for all our kids. I can't do this alone, but together we can make it happen. Some in the crowd nodded, their faces softening, while others clenched their jaws, still doubtful. But the atmosphere crackled with possibility, a potential shift that made Sarah's heart race. Mr. Thompson turned to the audience. What do you say, folks? How many of us want to be part of something that makes a difference? A few voices began a chant, "Let us do it. Let us get involved." Sarah's heart raced with each enthusiastic cheer, each scream of support. They were beginning to rally behind her. "All right then," Mr. Thompson continued, "let us put our heads together and figure out how to make this vision a reality. We can gather resources, get donations. I believe in the heart of this community, and I think we can be the heartbeat behind a project like this." The nostalgia of a shared history and camaraderie settled like a warm blanket. People started exchanging ideas, suggestions about funding and support and planting days. Sarah's heart swelled with each collaborative thought thrown into the mix. But the skeptic remained silent, her arms still crossed, her brow furrowed. And then she spoke. "Just remember, folks, good intentions alone won't grow these plants. You need strategy and funding." The room hushed again, tension recasting itself as doubt settled back in. "Don't worry," Sarah said, her voice piercing through the murmurs. "Every garden starts with a single seed. If we each plant our own seed of support, we can grow together." Her eyes scanned the crowd, locking with Mr. Thompson's momentarily, and somewhere deep, they stirred something that felt unstoppable. "Right?" she pressed, resolving to turn doubt into determination. A chorus of murmurs reassured her, as the crowd leaned closer. Yet the weight of the skeptic's words hung in the air. "Do you really think people will commit?" A voice broke through the crowd again, a different speaker this time, an older man. "What if it fizzles out before we even get started?" Sarah hesitated, her heart threatening to falter. She needed an answer that would silence both the doubts and the questions. Raising her chin, she replied, "Then we stay committed. We push through the struggles together as a community. This garden will be a testament to our resilience." In that moment, a determined spark lit within her, coursing through the crowd. They were on the brink of something real. And yet, as thoughts raced through her mind, she understood they were also on the edge of uncertainty. What commitments were they willing to make? What sacrifices would they endure for one another? As she surveyed the audience, Sarah felt the urge to ask, "Are you all in?" But even as she posed the question, she feared the answer. Would they walk with her into this unknown or turn their backs to her dreams? With the weight of possibility in the air, she stood on the cusp of the adventure she had imagined. But would that adventure bring the community together, or would it forever remain a dream? The moment of truth loomed just ahead, waiting for a decisive leap. The murmurs in the crowd grew louder, a blend of excitement and skepticism clashing in the air. Sarah's heart raced as she looked from face to face, searching for signs of affirmation, for a single nod that could ignite the spark of collective courage. "Are we all in?" The question echoed in her mind, as she took a step back, glancing at her daughter. Lily's eyes were wide with belief, coaxing Sarah's hesitation to surrender. She swallowed hard, fighting off the swell of doubt that threatened to surge back in. Then it happened. Mr. Thompson raised a hand, silencing the room with his authoritative presence. "All right, let us lay it out," he said, his tone steady. "We all want a brighter future for our children, don't we? But a garden won't just grow itself. Who's willing to put in the work?" One by one, hands began to shoot up, some tentative and others enthusiastic. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. This was it. They were finally stepping toward something. "I'll help with planning," a woman called out, the sunning light of hope shining in her voice. "And I can organize a fundraiser," another man added, his face breaking into a smile that seemed contagious. Lily beamed, her little hand squeezing Sarah's tightly. But amid the wave of support, the skeptic emerged again. "But what if it doesn't last?" she asked, her voice sharp, cutting through the excitement like a knife. "What if it becomes just another forgotten dream?" Sarah felt the room tighten, uncertainty nudging its way back into the crevices of their collective courage. But in that moment, she remembered the courage it took to stand up in front of them, to shed the layers of self-doubt. "Every garden has its weeds," Sarah replied, her determination rising. "What matters is how we tend to it. We are in charge of nourishing this dream, together." A ripple of encouraging murmurs flowed around her, and for a heartbeat, it felt as if the weight of their fears could lift. Yet as quickly as it came, she felt the resolve teeter again. Was it truly enough? "Let us set a date then. A community gathering to actually get our hands dirty," Mr. Thompson suggested, his enthusiasm radiating. The crowd erupted in cheers, voices overlapping in a beautiful storm of hope. But even as plans began forming, a pit of skepticism remained lodged in Sarah's heart. After the meeting, people lingered, exchanging numbers and plans, their excitement spilling onto smartphones and notepads. Sarah felt a warmth in the camaraderie, but her gaze kept drifting towards the empty spot in the room where the skeptic had stood. Something gnawed at her, an unsettled feeling like a storm brewing just beyond the horizon. "Mommy." Lily tugged at her hand, snapping her back. "Can we plant flowers now?" "Soon, sweetheart," Sarah replied softly, bending down to kiss Lily's forehead. It was a small duty in the vastness of everything that lay ahead, a reminder of why she was fighting so hard. The evening wrapped itself in a warm glow, leaving Sarah filled with both hope and unease. She knew she couldn't carry the weight of this dream alone. Would her neighbors really rally alongside her, offering not just enthusiasm but lasting commitment? As the crowd began to disperse, she stood by the entrance, watching them leave with hope spilling from every word exchanged. But doubts lingered, heavy in her chest. "Hey, Sarah," Mr. Thompson called out, approaching her with a friendly smile. "You did great. But remember, it's just the beginning. The real effort begins tomorrow." "Right," she replied, forcing a smile, though inside she felt the tremors of uncertainty. "Just stay the course. We're in this together," he reassured her before joining a group of stragglers, laughter mingling with the night air. Sarah stood still for a moment, breathing in the scent of possibility. The seeds of her dream had been sown, but would they flourish? Looking down at Lily, who was admiring the stars starting to twinkle in the dusk, Sarah whispered softly, "Let us hope tomorrow brings clarity." Would her next steps lead them to growth or choke out the fragile hope they had just nurtured? As she turned to leave, her heart pounded with the thrill of what was to come, and yet, uneasiness crept in with each step. The challenge ahead promised transformation, but would the community's resolve stand firm when the real work began? A wave of uncertainty swept over her, leaving one haunting question: what fate awaited their dream when the veil of excitement fell? The next day dawned bright and hopeful, casting a warm light over the neighborhood as Sarah stood in her kitchen, brewing coffee. The aroma filled the air, mingling with the sound of Lily's laughter as she danced around the living room. For a moment, Sarah let the warmth of that comfort blanket her doubts. "Are we really going to do this, Mommy?" Lily's voice broke through her thoughts, filled with a childlike wonder that both thrilled and terrified Sarah. "Absolutely, sweetheart," she said, pouring the coffee into her favorite mug, the one with the bright flowers around its rim. "Today, we make our first real step." But as they prepared to head out, Sarah's mind swirled. She couldn't shake the lingering echo of the skeptic from yesterday's meeting. What if they fell apart before they even properly started? What if today was just another day that led to disappointment? Arriving at the community lot, the scene was a blend of colors and chatter. Families were setting up tables and tents, pooling flowers, seed packets, and tools, their excitement palpable. Sarah felt a mixture of warmth and shadow dance through her heart. "Look, Mommy. I see Mr. Thompson." Lily pointed, her voice rising in excitement. Sarah followed the little finger to see the older man, rallying people, a genuine enthusiasm sparking in his eyes. "It's like a little fair," Sarah exclaimed, squeezing Lily's hand, though her own heart raced with uncertainty. As people gathered, Mr. Thompson called them to attention. "Good morning, everyone. Today marks the start of something wonderful. Together, we will plant not just flowers, but a sense of community." Cheers erupted, and for a moment, Sarah felt hope spilling inside her again. But just as her heart began to soar, she spotted the skeptic woman from the meeting, standing slightly apart, arms crossed, watching the excitement with cautious eyes. Her presence sent a small wave of panic through Sarah. What if she swayed the others? "Mommy, can we help over there?" Lily tugged at her skirt, pointing at a group that was prepping the soil. "Of course. Let us go," Sarah replied, determined to focus on the joy of the moment. They joined the crowd, digging their hands into the cool earth. Sarah felt a connection forming with her neighbors as they worked side by side, laughter punctuating the air. It was a feeling of belonging she hadn't realized she missed, and every shared smile chipped away at her lingering doubts. As they planted, another neighbor approached. "Hey, Sarah." It was Jenna, the planner. "Do you need help with the layout? I have some ideas." "Absolutely. Thank you." Sarah felt a rush of relief. This wasn't just her dream, others were rallying. Yet, the skeptic continued to linger at the edge of the scene, watching, whispering with a few others who had gathered her confidence. "Mommy," Lily said softly, pulling on Sarah's shirt again. "Why isn't that lady helping?" Out of the mouths of babes, Sarah thought, her heart sinking. "Sometimes, people take a little longer to see the good," she replied, her voice steady. But doubt twisted in her stomach. Suddenly, Mr. Thompson's call rang out again, beckoning even greater enthusiasm. "Let us make this garden a testament to our strength. For each flower we plant, we grow our bond." The crowd erupted in cheers, but Sarah's eyes kept drifting toward the skeptic. What if their garden became a representation of failure instead of unity? Just then, the woman turned, meeting Sarah's gaze. The tension broke between them, and for a split second, Sarah expected hostility. Instead, she saw something entirely different: curiosity. "Hey, just give it time. It might surprise you," Sarah thought, a plan forming in her mind. With her heart pounding, she made her way over, determination fueling her steps. Maybe, just maybe, this was the moment to invite her into the fold. As Sarah approached, she took a deep breath, steadying herself. "Hi there. I'm Sarah. Would you like to help us out? We could use all the hands we can get." The woman's skepticism softened, just slightly. "Well, I don't know. What if it all falls apart?" "Then we plant again," Sarah replied, her voice even. "Together." Seconds hung in the air as the woman regarded her, and Sarah held her breath. Would she knock down the wall or build a bridge? The tension seemed to evaporate, but before a response could form, a voice from the crowd shouted, "Let us get planting, team." But what would that woman decide? Would she join in with them and help nurture this shared dream? The garden they were building could either flourish or become just another forgotten tale, resting on the commitment of everyone gathered. The woman's eyes flickered with uncertainty. For a heartbeat, silence wrapped around them, broken only by the distant sound of laughter and chatter from the community gathering. Sarah stood there, feeling the weight of her invitation. She wondered if this moment could be a turning point. Why not? The woman finally said, lifting an eyebrow in a mix of challenge and intrigue. But if it goes south, I'm out. A smile broke across Sarah's face as relief rushed through her. Deal. Let us make it great. They joined the growing group of neighbors rallying together. Sarah introduced Lily, watchful and curious, as they began preparing the soil together. Digging in the ground, their hands caked with dirt, Sarah could almost see the seeds of possibility sprouting alongside the flowers. For each seed they planted, laughter filled the air, weaving stories and hopes for the future. Jenna swung by with garden markers, asking for names for the flowers they would plant. The colors and scents would soon burst to life. Maybe we can call this one Lily's love, Lily piped up, her eyes sparkling with joy. That's perfect. Sarah affirmed, feeling lightness in her heart as more neighbors chimed in with their ideas. Encouraged by the sudden unity, Sarah glanced towards the skeptic. A hint of a smile creased her lips. Was that a small nod of agreement? Hours slipped by in a whirl of activity. They dug deeper, planting bright petals and fragrant herbs, while stories sprung up around the garden like the tiny blooms. The woman's earlier hesitation seemed to fade away in the warmth of shared purpose. Sarah! Come here. Mr. Thompson called from across the lot. You're not going to believe this. As she approached, a sense of excitement bubbled up within her. He stood with a small group, pointing toward the road where a truck rolled into view. It was filled with more soil, garden tools, and vibrant flowers, donations from local businesses eager to support the community garden. Wow! Lily exclaimed, bouncing on her toes. Look at that! Sarah's heart swelled. She felt that rare magic that comes with community spirit. Just then, she caught the skeptical woman watching, jaw slightly dropped in disbelief. See? Sarah smiled at her. This is what we can create together. All right, the woman said, crossing her arms but unable to suppress a smile. Maybe it won't fall apart after all. And in that moment, the garden transformed from mere earth and seeds into a blooming testament of resilience, connection, and possibility. They all worked diligently, passing flowers and soil, their voices rising together. Laughter echoed through the air, and doubts melted away like morning fog under the sun. But even as enthusiasm swirled around her, Sarah still sensed a subtle undercurrent of tension within the woman. A shadow crossed her face every so often, and Sarah instinctively knew there was more to her story. Before long, darkness began to fall, and the community came together for a celebratory picnic. Neighbors pulled out blankets and food, laughter igniting the fading light. Yet, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that the woman carried a weight just beneath the surface. Can I pour you some lemonade? Sarah asked her, pulling a chair beside her. She hoped to unravel that mystery, to reach underneath the surface and connect. I appreciate that, the woman said, sipping her drink slowly. You know, I wasn't always skeptical about things like this. The night air was thick with anticipation. What would unfold next? Would Sarah hear the woman's truth? Would their budding friendship blossom just like their flowers? With a heart full of hope, Sarah leaned in, ready to listen. The woman took a deep breath, her eyes reflecting the flickering light of the nearby lanterns. My name is Rachel, she started, her voice steadier than before. I moved here to escape some things that left me feeling broken, if I'm honest. I was a single mom working 2 jobs, barely making ends meet. As she spoke, Sarah watched Rachel's shoulders relax. The air around them shifted, the laughter from the picnic softened into the background, creating an intimate bubble just for the two of them. I wanted to believe in community, Rachel continued, looking down at her lemonade, but each time I hoped, I was let down. I guess I built walls to protect myself and my daughter. Her gaze drifted towards Lily, who was happily chatting with Mr. Thompson about her favorite flowers. Walls are tricky, Sarah said gently. They keep out the bad, but they can keep out the good too. She could relate. Her own experiences taught her how isolating it felt when hope waned. Rachel nodded, her eyes glistening under the soft glow. When I first came here, I didn't know if I could trust anyone. Everyone has their own struggles. But watching today, it felt new. It felt less lonely. A warmth spread through Sarah's chest. This was the connection she had hoped for, and the understanding that sometimes it's through shared labor and joy that friendships bloom. "You're not alone anymore, Rachel," Sarah said softly. "We're all here, wanting to build something better together." Just as Rachel opened her mouth as if to reply, a loud cheer erupted from the other side of the picnic. They turned to see Jenna encouraging everyone to participate in a little friendly competition, the best garden outfit contest. Laughter enveloped them, drawing the crowd into an escalating bout of fashion chaos. "This community is incredible," Rachel mused, a hint of a smile appearing. "Maybe there is something here after all. You think so?" Sarah asked, heart racing. "Yeah, but..." Rachel hesitated, her smile fading slightly. "Life doesn't always play out this way. It can turn dark when you're not expecting it. It makes you cautious." As they watched the playful antics around them, Sarah couldn't ignore the fleeting shadows that crossed Rachel's face. "What if, instead of expecting darkness, we choose to embrace the light? Even when it's hard?" Rachel held her gaze for a moment, contemplating. "You've got a point. I guess it's easier to let that darkness take hold." They shared a thoughtful silence, both women wrestling with their fears and hopes. Then, out of nowhere, Lily darted over. "Mom! Can we join the contest?" Her enthusiasm radiated brighter than the lanterns. Sarah chuckled, and Rachel's stern expression curved into a reluctant smile, her defensive walls slowly crumbling. "All right, let us do this." She laughed, the sound light and freeing. As they joined the laughter, Sarah felt a surge of connection binding them deeper. But inside, a twinge of concern remained. Rachel was warming up, but the earlier hesitation lingered. What were the shadows she was still shielding? Would she let her fears fade like the night into the dawn? Just then, as the laughter took flight around them, Rachel's eyes met Sarah's. "I need to tell you something more, something that you deserve to know." A jolt of excitement surged through Sarah at the prospect of uncovering Rachel's hidden truths. What did Rachel feel she needed to share? Would it bring them closer, or would it stir up the past? All eyes turned to the stage as the contest began, and Sarah felt her heart race. The reveal would come soon, she could feel it in the air. What would Rachel expose next? As laughter erupted around them, Sarah felt a mix of excitement and anticipation. She glanced at Rachel, who had suddenly turned quiet again, her eyes fixed on the crowd with an unreadable expression. The contest continued, and Jenna, with her vibrant energy, was rallying everyone to cheer for the participating garden outfit strut. "Rachel?" Sarah leaned in, her voice barely above a whisper. "What is it? You can tell me." Rachel drew a shaky breath, her fingers curling around her lemonade cup as if seeking refuge in its familiarity. "I shouldn't hold back anymore," she said under her breath, frustration flickering in her eyes. "But it's not just about me. It's about Lily too." Sarah nodded, encouraging Rachel without needing to press further. She could feel the weight of each word unspoken, a heaviness that hung in the air like a storm cloud just waiting to release its rain. Okay, Rachel finally said, squeezing her eyes shut for a fleeting moment. "Before we moved here, things were rough. Financially, emotionally. I lost someone who meant a lot to me." Sarah's heart dropped. The thought of losing someone sent shivers down her spine, constricting her voice. "Rachel, you don't have to." "No, I want to," Rachel interrupted, her voice gaining strength. "I was engaged. We had plans. But he was in an accident, and I was left with nothing but this little girl who needed me to be strong. No one talks about how it feels, to carry that weight while still trying to keep the world alive for someone else. Her honesty cut through the noise of the picnic like a knife, and a hush fell over the pair as Sarah absorbed the flood of emotion. Rachel's loss wasn't just personal, it reverberated through every moment she spent rebuilding her life, every wall she had put up to shield her daughter from the harsh truth. "I'm so sorry," Sarah managed, her voice gentle, as she watched Rachel's breath hitch ever so slightly. That's so much." "It is," Rachel admitted, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "And sometimes, I'm afraid to let people in because what if they see my scars? Or what if something happens again? It's easier to stay cautious." Lily's laughter reached them again, bright and unsuspecting, and Rachel's expression softened. "But then I realize she deserves to experience joy, to make connections. Maybe I've kept those walls up long enough." A moment of silence passed between them, rich with understanding. Sarah smiled softly, realizing the enormity of Rachel's bravery. To share such a painful truth, it was more than a gesture, it was an invitation, a leap toward trusting again. "Can I tell you something?" Sarah said, her own heart buoyed by Rachel's revelation. "We all have stories, walls built from hurts that shield us but also lock us away. You're not alone in this." Rachel's eyes searched Sarah's, and for the first time, a flicker of hope sparkled atop her uncertainty. "You really think so?" "I know so," Sarah said, her voice firm and reassuring. "And look at us now, we're starting to create our own community. No one here is perfect, and that's okay. Together, we can lift each other up." Just then, the crowd erupted into cheers as the next participant on stage, dressed flamboyantly in garden attire, fumbled and nearly tripped. Laughter echoed, breaking the fragile emotional weight of their conversation. Rachel chuckled, wiping an escaping tear. "You're right. I guess I need moments like this, to remind me of what's possible." With renewed determination, Rachel straightened, wiping at her eyes as Jenna called for all parents to step onto the makeshift runway. "Come on. Let's join Lily." They moved, laughter bubbling back up as they joined the fun, the music pulsing around them, but the encounter left a deeper mark on Sarah's soul. What lay ahead for Rachel, now that the walls were starting to crumble? Would she truly let the light in? And could more truths be waiting just under the surface, ready to transform everything once again? The stage was set, literally and metaphorically, as Sarah and Rachel stepped into the thrumming pulse of the crowd. Laughter, cheers, and music intermingled, creating a festive atmosphere that felt inviting yet overwhelming. As the two women approached the makeshift runway, Sarah could feel Rachel's hand at her side clenching tightly. "Just remember, it's all in good fun," Sarah whispered, giving Rachel a reassuring nudge. Rachel's lips twisted into a hesitant smile, and Sarah could sense the shift layers of unease beginning to peel away. They took their places among the other parents, ready for the surprise runway experience Jenna had organized. A burst of excitement spread through the crowd like wildfire, making every heart beat a little faster. As the first parent strutted down the runway, adorned in an outrageous sunflower costume, the audience erupted into laughter. Clapping and hollering echoed all around. Rachel's laughter joined in, brightening her eyes, and for that ephemeral moment, Sarah saw the weight start to lift. "Come on, that's our turn." Sarah grinned, pulling Rachel toward the front. They stepped into the spotlight, and for a heartbeat, Sarah felt the world zoom in on them. The vibrant colors of the picnic setting, the soft chatter turned into a distant hum. It was just her and Rachel under the sun, both on their own journey of vulnerability and strength. Rachel took a deep breath, and as if the music matched her pulse, they began to sway to the beat, channeling the spirit of their surroundings. Laughter bubbled up as Sarah spun Rachel around in a playful twirl, her joyful energy igniting something in Rachel that they hadn't fully experienced before. "Let go!" Sarah shouted over the music, a grin stretched wide across her face. "Just have fun." And Rachel did. She threw her hands up and laughed, throwing caution to the wind. The audience cheered louder, and Sarah felt the joy crackle in the air, contagious, pure, and uplifting. As they completed their little routine, Rachel's face lit up, shimmering with a vulnerability that morphed into something like freedom. As they returned to the side of the stage, still giggling from the shared exhilaration, Jenna rushed over, fingers clapping together in excitement. "That was amazing. You both brought so much fun to that runway. Thank you." "It felt great to just be in the moment," Rachel admitted, her cheeks still flushed with life. And just like that, Rachel began to blossom, a flower slowly unfurling in sunlight. Sarah felt that growth within her friend. It was proof that connection, even in small instances, could help mend the deepest wounds. Before they could catch their breath, a voice rose up behind them. A tall, sharp-suited man stepped forward, an air of authority mingling with a curiosity in his eyes. He was the CEO of a local charity focused on supporting single parents. "I couldn't help but notice you too," he said, his gaze fixed on Rachel. "There's something extraordinary about how you lit up the crowd today. I'd love to talk about potential collaborations with your community and help more people experience this kind of joy." The unexpected invitation hung in the air. Rachel blinked, her earlier vulnerability now shadowed by surprise and uncertainty. "Wait, what?" Rachel stammered, her heart racing. "What if I could help fund a project for you and others like you?" He maintained an encouraging smile, making it clear he meant every word. Rachel exchanged a glance with Sarah, who felt the thrill of possibility tingle in her veins. This was a turning point, the kind of real-life opportunity that could change everything for Rachel and Lily. Could Rachel really open herself up to more support and connection? What would it mean for their future, and how could this sudden interest reshape their lives once again? As the heaviness of the past flickered behind them like shadows under the sun, Rachel's thoughtful silence hung in the balance, pregnant with anticipation. Rachel's mind raced as the CEO's words echoed in her ears. They struck a chord deep within her, too melodious to ignore. She felt the heartbeats of her dreams intertwining with the hope that had started to sprout at the community garden. She began, her voice wavering as uncertainty gripped her yet again. Memories surged through her, disappointments, broken promises, and a fear that sat heavy in her chest. But just as those shadows threatened to swallow her whole, she glanced at Lily playing joyously near the garden beds, laughter bubbling like the petals bursting into bloom. "Could be," Rachel whispered, her eyes briefly shimmering with possibility. Sarah stepped closer, nudging her arm gently. "This is your moment, Rachel. Your vision and heart are worth pursuing." "You're right," Rachel murmured, belly full of both terror and excitement. "But what if they don't follow through? What if I just end up disappointed again? Remember what we talked about?" Sarah encouraged softly. "It's about letting the light in, even when the darkness whispers doubts. You owe it to yourself and Lily. You fought too hard to settle for less." Rachel took a deep breath. The air felt clearer, the rhythm of her heart matched the anticipation shimmering in the crowd. This was it. Turning back to the CEO, she steadied herself. "I'd love to talk more," Rachel said, her voice stronger now. "About how we can create opportunities for others too together." "Excellent. Let us set up a time to meet." "I believe in creating pathways for community growth," he replied, lifting his chin with an encouraging smile. The community around them erupted in applause as if they could sense the monumental shift happening just within Rachel. Excitement rippled through her, igniting a fire she had kept dimmed for far too long. She found herself standing taller. This was a new beginning, not just for her, but for Lily and countless others, too. "See?" Sarah beamed, heart swelling with pride. "You just took a brave step. Imagine where this could lead." Rachel turned to Sarah, her eyes gleaming with gratitude. "I can't believe it. Thank you for helping me find my voice." Time turned buoyant as voices intertwined once again, laughter punctuating their surroundings. Rachel now fully embraced the energy of the community around her neighbors who were ready to join this transformative journey. As the sun began to set, painting the horizon in warm hues of orange and pink, Rachel felt the promise of the future lingering in the air. Hope hung bright, and she gave an encouraging smile to Lily, who had raced over, full of wide-eyed wonder. "Mommy, did you hear? We're planting a lot more flowers. Everyone's helping," Lily exclaimed, clutching wildflowers tightly in her little hands. "Yes, sweetheart," Rachel answered softly, leaning down to wrap her arms around her daughter. "We'll build something beautiful together." That very moment, Sarah joined them, laughter spilling over like sunlight. Everything felt lighter now, as if the shadows that had once clung tightly began to release, drifting far behind. No longer just a dreamer or a single mother fighting against the tides of her fears, Rachel felt like a leader emerging ready to cultivate both a garden and a community. As they turned back toward the joyful chaos of the picnic, Rachel knew this was more than just a garden. It was a growing tapestry of lives intertwined, transforming hurt into hope, and trust-building bridges where walls once stood. "Let us get planting," she cheered, and together they stepped into the rhythm of laughter, love, and connection, ready to nurture the future that awaited. Rachel began to understand that through the blooming flowers, they could inspire a generation of hope, a legacy that could flourish season after season. So if you believe in transformation, if you're ready to plant seeds of hope in your community, subscribe immediately to our channel so you won't miss the next exclusive stories that could inspire your own journey. Leave a like now to help feed the algorithm and make sure these heartfelt stories reach more souls. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this heartwarming transformation. Remember, you need to support the channel because only true fans understand how impactful your actions can be. Don't wait not even one more second.